Drummond, Tennessee. A place where silence is usually a comfort. But on June 1, 2010, the silence became deafening. Star Harris was the glue that held her world together. A mother of 8. A devoted wife. A business owner. Her life was a symphony of chaos and love. Until the music stopped. In the middle of a Tuesday afternoon, Star simply vanished. No struggle. No scream. Just an open back door and a desk chair overturned. As if the earth had opened up and swallowed her whole. The search didn't take long. But for those who found her, the image would be burned into their retinas forever. Deep in the ravine, behind the safety of her own home, lay a nightmare. The woman known for her beauty and kindness was unrecognizable. Brutalized. Beaten. Discarded like trash in the dirt. Who could do this? Who could harbor that much rage against a mother of 8? The answer wasn't lurking in the shadows of the city. It was already inside her house. Drummond is the kind of town where everyone knows your name. And everyone knows your secrets. When the lead investigator, Donna Turner, arrived at the scene, she didn't just see a crime. She saw a message. The brutality was personal. The killer didn't just want Star dead, he wanted to erase her. But in his frenzy, he left a trail. A trail that would lead investigators through a labyrinth of lies and local grudges. Was it a robbery gone wrong? A disgruntled employee? Or something far more sinister? Investigators began looking at the men in Star's life. They started with the broken payroll. 2 men. One missing $50 bill. And a fury that was about to boil over. Meet Ricky Bell. He was a neighbor. He was an employee. He was a man who had spent more time behind bars than out of them. And on the morning Star died, he had visited her house twice. But there was another. Dwight Whitfield, a man seen pacing near the woods. A man with a history of violence. When the police called, Dwight ran. The clock was ticking. The community was paralyzed by fear. Because in Drummond, the predator wasn't a stranger. The predator was a friend. How does a $50 dispute turn into a capital murder? How does a mother of 8 end up in a ravine, fighting for her last breath? The evidence was there. Hidden under her fingernails. Left behind in the mud. The investigation was about to uncover a monster that didn't just kill. He hunted. And Star Harris was his ultimate prize. As the sun set over the crime scene, the investigation shifted from the silent woods to the cold intensity of the interrogation room. The primary suspect was Ricky Bell. He was the last known person to see Star alive. The motive seemed almost too trivial to believe, a $50 discrepancy in his paycheck. Detectives leaned in, watching his every move. Ricky admitted he was frustrated about the money. He admitted he went to the house twice that day. But he insisted that when he left, Star was perfectly fine. Investigators searched his body for the mark of a fighter. They knew Star had fought for her life. They expected to see scratches, bruises, or bite marks. But Ricky's skin was clear. Not a single mark of a struggle was found on his arms or chest. Then there was Dwight Whitfield, a local man with a reputation that preceded him. Neighbors placed him near the Harris property during the window of the murder. When police finally cornered him, Dwight was defensive. He claimed he was at an anger management class. An ironic alibi for a man suspected of such a savage act. Like Ricky, Dwight showed no physical signs of a struggle. The investigation was hitting a wall. But the woods weren't done giving up secrets. Donna Turner ordered a secondary, more intensive sweep of the ravine. Officers moved in a line, shoulder to shoulder, sifting through every leaf. 50 yards from where Star's body was found, they saw it. Something shiny resting in the dirt. It looked like a small silver handgun. The air went cold. When the investigator reached down to bag the weapon, something felt wrong. It was too light. It wasn't a gun at all. It was a cigarette lighter, designed to look exactly like a real firearm. Next to the weapon lay a discarded condom. In a remote ravine where no one ever walked, these items were out of place. They weren't trash. They were the biological fingerprints of a killer. The items were rushed to the state lab. In the world of forensic science, this was the smoking gun. DNA doesn't lie. DNA doesn't forget. While the town of Drummond held its breath, the lab technicians worked. They weren't just looking for a match to the suspects. They were looking for the profile of a monster. The results came back with a shattering clarity. The DNA on the lighter didn't belong to Dwight. And it didn't belong to a stranger passing through. The profile was an exact match for Ricky Bell, the man who had stood in Star's kitchen that morning. The neighbor who claimed he left her perfectly fine. The $50 grudge had been a lie. Ricky hadn't returned for his money. He had returned for a victim. Armed with a fake gun and a dark intent, he had led a mother of 8 to her death. The DNA match turned the investigation from a mystery into a manhunt. Ricky Bell was no longer just a disgruntled employee. He was a predator who had been unmasked by his own biology. Detectives moved fast to track him down before he could vanish or find another victim. They found him in nearby Memphis, hiding out at his girlfriend's house. When the handcuffs clicked around his wrists, Ricky didn't scream. He didn't protest his innocence with the passion of a wrongly accused man. Instead, he sat in the back of the patrol car and offered a chilling, silent smile. It was the look of a man who had played this game before. And as investigators dug into his past, they realized just how dangerous he truly was. Ricky Bell had spent the majority of his adult life behind bars. His record wasn't just filled with petty thefts or drug charges. It was a history of targeted, violent aggression against women. Years earlier, he had kidnapped a teacher at gunpoint. In prison, he had brutally attacked a female guard. He was a man who harbored a deep, systemic hatred for women in positions of authority. Star Harris was the latest woman to cross his path. She was the one who handled the payroll. She was the one who told him his check was short because he missed work. To a man like Ricky, that wasn't just a financial dispute. It was an insult that required a violent response. The community of Drummond was rocked to its core. They had trusted him. The Harris family had given him a job when no one else would. They had offered him a second chance, only for him to use it to destroy them. As the trial approached, the evidence against Ricky was overwhelming. The fake silver gun, the lighter, carried his DNA. The condom found in the ravine carried his DNA. And the most damning evidence of all was found on Star herself. She had fought him with everything she had. In those final, terrifying moments, she had managed to scratch him. The lab confirmed that the skin cells found under her fingernails were his. Star had identified her killer from the grave. The trial was a grueling experience for the Harris family. They had to hear the graphic details of Star's final moments. They had to see the theatrical lack of remorse on Ricky's face as he sat in the courtroom. But the jury didn't take long to decide. The DNA trail was a map that led directly to a conviction. Ricky Bell was found guilty of first-degree murder, especially aggravated kidnapping, and rape. The judge didn't hold back. In a county that rarely saw such brutality, the sentence was a landmark. Ricky Bell was sentenced to death. He became the first person in the history of Tipton County to receive the death penalty. A man who thought he could use a fake gun to commit a very real crime. A man who thought a ravine could hide his secrets. The investigators finally reconstructed the nightmare that unfolded on that quiet June afternoon. It started with a knock. Star Harris opened her door to a face she recognized, a neighbor and an employee. Ricky Bell hadn't come for a conversation about his paycheck. He had come with the silver lighter tucked into his waistband like a real firearm. He used that fake weapon to shatter the safety of her home. Under the threat of what she believed was a loaded gun, Star was forced through her own house. She was led out the heavy back door, a door the family never used. He marched her into the thick brush of the ravine. Away from the road. Away from the eyes of her children. The struggle that followed was one of pure, maternal bravery. The evidence showed that Star managed to break free. She ran. She scrambled down the steep embankment, her heart hammering against her ribs, desperate to reach the house. But the terrain was her enemy. She tripped. She fell. And in that moment, the predator caught his prey. The rage that followed was unspeakable. Ricky Bell didn't just kill her. He unleashed a lifetime of bitterness onto a woman who had only ever tried to help him. The sentencing brought a cold kind of peace to Drummond. But for the 8 children left behind, the justice felt hollow. A mother's chair remained empty at graduation. A voice was missing from every birthday song. Star's sister, Tonya, made sure the world remembered more than just the crime. She spoke of a woman who was a symphony of kindness. A woman who saw the good in people, even when it wasn't there. That was Star's gift, and ultimately, her tragedy. Ricky Bell remains on death row, a man defined by a $50 lie and a fake silver gun. He thought he was the smartest person in the room. He thought the woods would swallow his sin. But he underestimated Star Harris. Even in her final moments, she made sure he would be caught. She fought. She scratched. She held on to his identity. The mother of 8 had the final word.